Hi, I'm Brenda. Welcome back to my quilt room. I hope you'll be as excited as I am to learn something new today. If you look behind me, you're going to see a hanky quilt that I made back in May of 2020. And I posted this out on Facebook to a group that I'm part of. Recently, I have gotten several requests to show different types of dresses that can be folded out of a hanky. And there really were not very many selections that even I could find out on the internet. So what I did, I found an origami page and I practiced with a piece of paper. Now, a friend of mine asked me, would I fold her some hankies for her upcoming wedding? And so I told her, yes, I would. And so I folded them. And then I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I could find a wedding dress and fold a hanky into the shape of a wedding dress and give to her as a gift for her wedding? And so what I did, I went out on the internet and Googled origami. I started with a piece of paper because, as you know, when you're doing origami, people are folding things with paper. So I had to practice quite a while to get this down. And then what I did, I folded a hanky. And here's one that I did. And I've starched these so that they're a little bit stiff. And I've also put some pins in them on the back to keep the folds in place. Now the hanky that I folded for her, I already gave to her for her upcoming wedding. But in order to keep the folds together from not coming apart, I did use some clear fabric glue. Here is another hanky that I folded. And these are just some little embellishments that I had. I purchased this on a spool. You can buy things like this in your craft department at your local Walmart, Hobby Lobby. Some little embellishments. As you can see, I pinned the little necklace up under the folds of the collar on this one. And someone else had asked me, I wish that you had showed the dimensions. So the dimensions for this hanky, if you're a collector of hankies, they come in a variety of sizes. So this hanky measures to the top of the shoulders at 14 inches. I hope that you can see that. I'll put my hand back there. So this hanky measured 14 inches. I'm not sure how long the hanky was that I gave to her. Now, I wished that I had had a solid white hanky. And so I couldn't find any. So I ordered a little pack of hankies off of the internet, off of Amazon. And this is how it came out. And it looks all right, but it was rather difficult to fold with all of the little lace pieces all the way around the hanky. And then I found some little embellishments, again, at Walmart in the craft department. And look at how cute that little cameo would look if you sewed that onto the hanky. These embellishments are called Timeless Treasures. This is what the pack looked like. It has other little embellishments in here that look old-fashioned. And then there's a little shoe. And there's some buttons. And I just thought these were really cute. This might be an idea, something that you want to do maybe for an upcoming wedding, and embellish each of the hankies and give them to the people who will be in the wedding. I really liked this one. This, I have, like I said before, I have a large collection of vintage hankies. This one looked very tea-dyed. I was going to wash it, and then I thought, no, I really like the look of like the tea-dyed stain. And so I left this one this way. And again, these are just pinned together. Now I'm going to show you step by step how to fold your hanky into a wedding dress. And again, like this one it's about 12 inches. So if you were going to make a project like the hanky quilt behind me here, you may want to pick hankies that are all of the same general size so that when you go to mount them to your quilt block, you won't have to come up with different sizes of quilt squares and make it fit together. So I'm going to just do this real time, and I will try to go very slow so that you can go back if you need to, watch the video as many times as you need to. Like I said, I folded a piece of paper many times to try to get this down to memory. And I did make myself some notes of how to fold it. You might want to do that too so that you don't forget. But like I said, you can go back and watch the video several times. You will want to make sure your hankies are clean. I did starch all of my hankies. I starched them good to help them retain their shape. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing that you will want to do is make sure that you have the pretty side of your hanky up facing you. So you can see here, this is faded. Sometimes it's hard to tell which side is the front and which side is the back. But this is the pretty side of the hanky. You're going to fold it in half and make a crease in the middle. Now I have a little tiny iron here, and I'm just going to lightly go over this to retain my crease marks. Get these out of the way. Okay, now you've folded it in half, open it up, and you can see this crease line right here in the middle. You're going to fold the side into where it meets that crease line and press it again. Do the same thing on the opposite side and press it. And you may want to give it just a light little press with the iron. I don't have this on a very high temperature because, as you know, the hankies can be very thin and delicate. Now, you're going to fold each of those halves in toward the middle again to where they meet. And I will press that. And then fold the other side into the middle and press it. Just go slow and practice because you're just folding it, and you can always unfold it and start over, and I had to start over many times. Okay, now you're going to only open it the one time, and then you want to turn it over. I'll scoot this back here a little bit. Now reach underneath this line right here of this crease. You're going to pull your hanky out and fold that line up to the middle and just smooth it out. Okay, so it's this line right here. That had me so confused for a few times. Flip it out and fold it into the middle. And then you're going to take each side and fold it up again. And at this point, you probably want to press it one more time. Okay. So you can see now it's almost like a little accordion fold. Okay? Do you see that? How they're just sort of folded like a little accordion. And now I fold the hanky over, turn it over. And because I want the train of the dress to be longer, fold your hanky about 3/4 of the way up. And then I put a little crease in there so I will know where my little waistline is going to be. And you can see that line right there. And now we're going to turn it back over again. This will make folding the little front waist flaps easier. Now you're going to flare out the bottom of the wedding dress. So you just want to come down to this first crease right here. And you just hold it with your thumb and sort of pull it out a little bit. And you can see how it's kind of pushing the waist crease up. And then kind of just gently press that down with your fingers. And then the top crease you're going to fold out, because this is the back of the wedding dress. And just press that down. And you may want to give it a light little press with your iron so that it holds its shape. Same thing on this side. Come down to the first fold and you're going to pull that piece out. You want to fold it back on itself a little bit. And I look at these and try to make those the same size. Now when you turn it over to the front to look at it, you can always go back and readjust and press that down. And this, you can kind of tell that this is the way the back of a wedding dress might look. And smooth it out a little bit with your iron. Now you've got the bottom folded out. Now we're going to fold out the cap sleeves at the top of the dress. So from the waistline, you're going to turn over the top fold, and I just kind of creased it with my fingernail to hold it in place. And then here's the other side. And just give it a little crease. Now at this point, if you don't want these folds to move, you can put a few pins in to kind of hold things together for you. But it's like any material, once you've ironed it and you've creased it, then it remembers where you were. Turn it over. And what you're going to do now is fold down just one piece of the flap there. Okay? This is kind of how it was on the original dress behind me, except you were working from the back side. You see how this forms like a little triangle? I don't know if you can see this or not, but when you pull this down, there's a little crease right here, if you can see that. This little crease is going to line up with the fold of your collar to the front. And you're just going to, again, press that down with your fingers. And the same thing, you'll do the same thing on this side. They sort of form a little bit of a triangle. And so those, and if you want to put a pin in here, then you can, to hold those in place so that they don't move. Okay. Turn it over to the back. Now you're going to pull the rest of the front back. You're going to pull that whole flap back until it meets the top of the collar. And you can put a pin in here to hold it in place. Same thing on the other side. Just fold this back toward the cap sleeve until your edge meets that front collar and put your pin in. And then turn it over. Now, we're almost there. Where you folded the waistline and you ironed it, you can see your crease line right here. Take the top and come down about an inch. I may have to take these pins out, that'll be in my way. Come down about an inch and fold your hanky back. Now this is quite thick right here, but if you give it a little press, it will remember and want to stay in place. Because right here, from the center, you're going to want to turn up the edges and make your little flap for the front. And then you will do the same thing on this side. You'll fold it from the middle up. Now this is quite thick. But once you have, and that's the end, this is the end of the fold, and you have your whole hanky wedding gown is folded. So a few things to mention. Once you're at this point and you look at your hanky and you're happy with how everything looks, you can go back and put in a few dots of fabric, clear fabric glue, even if you need to use a toothpick, just to hold your folds in place so that they don't come undone. Now for these flaps, because this is so thick right here, you will want to, this is what I did, you don't have to, you could glue it, but I took a needle and thread and I whip stitched across the back of the hanky right here, catching in some of these folds to hold this in place so that it would not come undone. And then I used a few dots of a clear fabric glue to hold my folds in place and let it dry. So once you have your hanky, it's all folded and ready to go, then you can add any kind of embellishments that you want on the top of your hanky, little hanky dress. You could sew a little vintage looking button. I have some roses in here. If you wanted to put a white rose, since the hanky does have white flowers on it, you could glue a few of these in the middle of the dress, put a little pearl necklace in there. You can embellish your hanky any way that you want. And that's all there is to that, to folding the hanky. So once I mastered it, I wrote myself some notes, and you may want to do the same thing. Practice with a piece of paper. Practice on a few hankies that you don't care if you mess them up. A word of caution. Do not at any point when you are folding your wedding dress think, okay, I'm going to glue this as I go. Don't do that. Ask me how I know. You don't want to do that because inevitably you will turn your hanky over, something will be wrong, something won't match, and you've already glued your hanky together. So please don't do that. Use pins, take your time. Once you have your hanky together and you look at it and you think, okay, it's perfect, I don't need to do anything else to it, then add your dots of fabric glue. Now also, a few people have asked me, well, where do you find all of your hankies? Well, I have quite a collection. I have a lot of hankies. And a lot of them, they're vintage. And I thought, oh, if somebody had a Christmas wedding, would it not be pretty to take poinsettia hankies with Christmas themed things on them and fold them into a dress and then one into a wedding dress. I find my hankies in various places. We like to peruse antique shops, flea markets, and I pick them up as much as I can at a reasonable price. Some of them can be quite pricey unless it's a color that I'm searching for that I can't find. I don't pay a whole lot for them. And I pulled one of the hankies out that I had bought at I don't know if it was a flea market or a antique dealer store, but I want to show it to you, and I want to show you as a buyer beware. Sometimes your hankies will be folded up and they'll be in little baggies like this. And sometimes the flap will be turned over and it'll be taped down, or they'll be stapled shut so that this is all you see of the hanky. Well, I've learned my lesson. If you cannot open the baggie and look at the hanky, you would hope that someone would not sell you something like this. But this has happened to me on more than one occasion. So if I cannot open the baggie, if it's a hanky that you think you might really want, take it up to the checkout desk and ask them to open it and show you the hanky before you spend your dollars on something like this. So I've learned my lesson. I'm very picky. Unless it would be something that I really, really want, then I would take it up to the front desk if I cannot open the package and take a look at the hanky myself. And I would hate for that to happen to anybody else. So I hope that that answered all of the questions about the wedding dress hanky, and just practice with it like with the other one, and eventually you'll get it. And like I said, don't glue anything together. When you turn it over, if you see something you don't like, you can always restarch it, iron it out, and start over. So I hope that you've had fun with this. I'm going to try to find a few more styles of dresses to give you different ideas of what you can do with your hanky. If you're new to my channel, I appreciate you watching and taking an interest and leaving me comments. If you like my videos, I would love to have a thumbs up and for you to subscribe to my channel. So until the next time, we'll see you